Hey Earth and Space Science, today we're here to talk about nebular theory. It is a theory about nebulas, but more importantly, it's a theory about how our solar system, the one that we live in, came to exist the way that it does. We're going to start with the birth of a star, the star in our solar system being the sun. There are colorful words in here that are extra important, so pay careful attention to those. First, gas and dust collected into a large cloud, and that cloud is called a nebula. This is the starting point of the birth of the whole solar system. That's why the theory of how the solar system was made is called nebular theory, because it all starts with a big cloudy nebula. The nebula starts to shrink and become denser as it collapses in on itself. Then, as it collapses further and further in on itself, it begins to spin. The smaller it is, the faster it spins, just like when a figure skater pulls their arms in, they start to spin faster. And it spins in sort of a flat disc, like you see in the picture. This makes sense if you think about the planets, because the planets rotating around the sun are sort of in a flat disc. If my fist is the sun, the planets aren't going all around every which way. They're all orbiting the sun in one disc. Step 4. Gravity pulls the gas and dust towards the center of the disk. So anything that has mass is being pulled towards the center of the disk, including larger pieces of dust. The gas at the center of that disk is so dense and so hot that nuclear fusion begins. Nuclear fusion is when two hydrogens fuse into helium and it releases so much energy, which is why a star is born at the center of the disk. This whole concept is called nebular theory, and it explains how our solar system was formed. This is like an artist's conception of how the solar system was formed, and you can see the star forming in the middle because of nuclear fusion, and you can see the spinning disk that surrounds the star. The next step in the formation of our solar system was planet formation. So we already had a star in the center that was formed because of nuclear fusion. How did we get planets that spun around the sun? Well, this picture shows our planets in order, but like way too close together, like they're not that close together. Where could you draw lines to separate objects that are similar? Well, I would probably draw the line in between the tiny rocky planets and the huge gaseous planets. And then I'll probably draw another line before Pluto, but some people say Pluto's not even a planet, so there's that. We have 4 small rocky inner planets. And then we have 4 large gassy or gaseous outer planets. They might have rocky cores, but most of their mass is taken up by gas. We also have thousands of dwarf planets like Pluto and other tiny space objects like comets and asteroids that are out there in the Pluto zone. The question is why? What made the inner planets so small and rocky, but made the outer planets enormous and filled with gas? Well, we think that what happened is as the disk around our new star was spinning, gravity was pulling the solid objects together in the center, and they were colliding with each other. And as they collided and collided and collided with each other close to the sun, those pieces of rock started to form what eventually became our planets today. The heat and wind from the sun vaporized all of the light gases close to the sun. So that's why we don't have any gas giants close to the sun, because the solar wind took care of that. What was left behind was rock and metal, and the 4 inner planets were formed from those leftover rocky materials that were close to the sun because of gravity's pull and were colliding with each other because the disk was spinning so fast. Extreme heat from the sun sucked light gases from the protoplanetary disk inward, and then solar wind blew the rest of the light gases away from the sun. So there are some light gases close to the sun because of its heat, and there are some light gases extremely far away from the sun because of solar wind. Solar wind is also produced because of the sun's heat. So that explains why very far from the sun, there are 4 outer planets, and they're made of 2 things, light gases and ice. That makes sense because solar wind blew light gases far away from the sun. And the further away you get from the sun, the colder and colder our solar system is. Any ice that was on the inside of our protoplanetary disk would have been melted by the sun, which is why we don't have any icy planets in the center of our solar system. So the heat from the sun is the primary reason for our 4 inner terrestrial or rocky planets and the 4 outer gassy planets, because that heat from the sun vaporized most of the gases and left rocks behind. And it also sucked in and used its solar wind to blow out the light gases that would be used in the future to make the gas giants at the outer edge of our solar system. The gas in the center of the disk was vaporized, leaving just rock and dust behind for our 4 inner rocky planets. And the gas on the outer part was just left there to become part of those outer gas giants. To summarize, what happened first in nebular theory was that a star was formed out of a cloud of gas and dust that collapsed in on itself, became dense, started to spin, and had nuclear fusion happen in the middle of it. As the clouds became more and more dense, particles were pulled towards the center, particles that would eventually form our sun and our 4 rocky terrestrial planets. With enough density and heat in the center of that spinning protoplanetary disk, fusion began between hydrogen, and a star is born as hydrogen and hydrogen become helium. The planets were formed out of leftover gas on the outer edge of the solar system and leftover dust at the inner part of our solar system. I hope that helped. I'll see you guys later today.